Kevin Garnett and Carmelo Anthony. The whole mess kicked off during a January 2013 game at Madison Square Garden. Reports blew up, claiming Garnett said something wildly disrespectful about La Anthony, Carmelo's wife. That one line spread like wildfire until it didn't. Paul Pierce, who was sitting right there on the Celtics bench, said Garnett never said it. He straight up asked him, and KG denied it. Then La jumped in herself later, writing in her book that it was all made up. So that whole serial lie, total fiction. But the drama was still very real. After the game, Carmelo didn't just storm off and cool down. Nope, he marched straight toward the Celtics locker room, hunting for Garnett. That didn't pan out, so he repositioned himself by the team bus, ready for round 2. It took security, the police, and a whole bunch of staff just to keep things from going full chaos. The league didn't brush it off either. Carmelo got suspended for 1 game. He admitted later that some lines shouldn't be crossed and said he and KG had an understanding after it all. Since then, both sides have let it go publicly. No more grudge, just a wild blip in NBA rivalry history that got way too personal, way too fast. Kobe Bryant and Ray Allen. This one didn't need constant headlines to feel heavy. Back in 2004, Allen went on record basically predicting Kobe would spiral into selfish play unless he got 2 or 3 All-Star. Kobe didn't love that. Before a preseason game, he allegedly left Allen a voicemail saying he was going to take him out on the court. Allen denied ever getting it, but Kobe never clarified anything. He just wanted no part of being linked to him. Even with that, it never became a trash talk circus. Allen admitted they didn't go back and forth verbally, but said flat out they didn't like each other. He called Kobe one of his most bitter rivals. Kobe, naturally, didn't respond to any of it. That was kind of his style. He stayed silent, avoided Allen off the court, and just kept it moving without ever squashing anything. The cold shoulder wasn't a one-off either. For years, Kobe reportedly refused to speak to Allen at all. Not in person, not by phone, nothing. The beef lasted deep into their careers, well past their battles in the Lakers-Celtics matchups. Even after retirement, Allen still spoke on it, like it never ended. There's no record of reconciliation, and with Kobe's passing in 2020, the rivalry stayed frozen. No closure, no truce, just lasting tension that never quite cooled down. Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. On October 5th, 2022, during a Warriors practice, Green walked up to Poole, exchanged words, got shoved, and then unleashed a full right hook that knocked Poole flat. TMZ leaked the footage 2 days later, and that changed everything. No more behind closed doors drama. It was all out there. What followed wasn't just a team meeting and some awkward silence. Golden State's chemistry cracked. Analysts tied their rocky start and brutal road record to the punch. Even coach Steve Kerr admitted they lost trust. Bob Myers, their general manager, had his doubts about Green's influence, and no one downplayed how much it shook the team. Green apologized publicly, then took time away from the team. Months later, he called it one of his biggest failures and said it taught him a lot. The Warriors fined him, but didn't suspend him. Yeah, just a fine. No hard line drawn. Then came the trade. Poole went to Washington on July 6th, 2023 in a deal that brought in Chris Paul. He unfollowed Green online, which in today's world says a lot. Reports say their relationship stayed rocky. Green later told Poole to move on. Poole's playing well now, but the grudge hasn't totally vanished. This wasn't just a punch, it was a breaking point that still echoes around the league. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Larry Bird and Bill Laimbeer. That fight in May 1987 wasn't just another playoff scuffle, it was a perfect snapshot of how much they hated each other. Bird had already called Laimbeer a cheap shot artist, and honestly, he wasn't alone. Players all over the league said Laimbeer pulled every dirty trick you could think of. Grabbing, elbowing, pushing, he had a full menu of foul play. Then Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals exploded. Laimbeer hit Bird with a hard foul, and that was it. Bird snapped. He grabbed the ball and rocketed it straight at Laimbeer's face. And yes, both of them got ejected. Even the broadcasters were like, yeah, Bird's gone unless that ball flies. Fans lost it too, throwing drinks and ice onto the floor as Bird walked off. That throw wasn't some casual lob. People who were there said it looked like it came off his hand at 100 miles an hour. The two of them never made peace, never dialed it down. Their rivalry wasn't just intense, it was ugly. Bird wasn't just mad in the moment, he was fed up with how Laimbeer played the whole game. And Laimbeer, he wasn't backing down either. They carried that tension game after game and never let it die. Markieff Morris and Nikola Jokic. November 9th, 2021. Morris delivered a nasty elbow into Jokic's ribs while he wasn't even facing him. A cheap shot, plain and simple. Jokic didn't hesitate. He charged in and blasted Morris from behind, sending him flying. The shove landed him on the floor near half court and lit up the entire arena. Both got tossed from the game. The The league came down hard, but only on one side. Jokic got suspended 1 game. Morris, just a $50,000 fine. No suspension, even though that shove left him with whiplash and sidelined for months. That imbalance didn't sit well with a lot of fans. Some said, suspend both or neither. Others pointed out the guy who started it got the lighter punishment. Then came the brother drama. Marcus Morris tweeted about Jokic hitting from behind. Noted, he said, the Jokic brothers didn't let that go. They made a Twitter account just to fire back, warning Marcus not to step further, or they'd be waiting. Things got so wild, security was reportedly beefed up for their next matchup. There's been no public resolution, no handshake, nothing. Jokic later admitted he felt bad, but no direct apology was ever made. The tension didn't end with the game. It extended into the family, social media, and months of rehab. This wasn't just a hard foul and a shove. It turned into one of the most heated, unresolved feuds in recent league memory. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. After the Sixers flamed out in that 2021 Game 7 loss to Atlanta, Simmons was roasted for freezing up. He missed 29 free throws and didn't take a single field goal attempt in the fourth quarter of 5 games. Then he vanished. No training camp, no preseason, and a string of missed team events that cost him over $10 million in fines. At one point, he became the most fined player in league history. Embiid didn't hold back. He called the moment Simmons passed up an open dunk the turning point of the series. He labeled Simmons' refusal to return borderline disrespectful and made it clear he didn't like how things went down. Simmons wasn't thrilled either, reportedly upset that Embiid seemed to pin the collapse on him. The tension got so bad that Embiid admitted he hadn't talked to Simmons all offseason, despite trying to reach out. When Simmons was finally traded to the Nets in February 2022, the beef didn't evaporate. Simmons did try to patch things up later, but it was awkward. Embiid gave some complicated praise in 2023, saying Simmons didn't really need a jumper, and calling him the one that got away. It was a mix of regret and lingering annoyance. They might not be throwing shade every week, but there's no reunion tour coming either. The rift still casts a long shadow over both of their careers, Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo. These two have been circling each other since 2009, with little love lost. It wasn't just a moment, it was a slow burn that finally exploded in 2018. The Lakers were facing the Rockets, and things went nuclear. Rondo allegedly spit in Paul's face. Whether accidental or deliberate, Paul didn't wait for a second opinion. He jabbed a finger in Rondo's face, and the fist flew. Rondo landed one. Paul answered. Brandon Ingram even joined in from the side and made it worse. The league stepped in quick. Rondo got suspended 3 games. Paul got 2. Ingram led the punishment parade with 4. But what made it more than just a scuffle was the history. Reports made it clear this wasn't out of nowhere. Their tension dated back almost a decade. Celtics versus Hornets matchups that had built up into pure resentment. And even after the smoke cleared, Rondo kept firing. He reportedly called Paul fake tough, showing no signs of backing off or letting things go. There's no handshake, no mutual respect, just 2-point guards who can't stand each other. The league's verdict may have ended the fight on paper, but that rivalry, still burning. And with both of them still around in league circles, it's probably not over. Kobe Bryant and Dwight Howard. Their beef was loud, public, and totally unresolved. In October 2014, during a game between the Rockets and Lakers, Howard elbowed Kobe during a rebound. Kobe snapped back, called him soft to his face, and yelled, "Try me," with zero hesitation. Both got hit with technicals. But the message was clear. Kobe wasn't bluffing. That moment wasn't just heat of the battle stuff. It went way back. During their short time as Lakers teammates in the 2012 to 2013 season, things were already bad. The dynamic was toxic. Kobe said he tried to teach Dwight how to win. Dwight wasn't having it. No signs of real respect ever surfaced. Practice sessions were reportedly tense, full of clashing egos, and Kobe's approach never really landed. Howard later admitted Kobe's words messed with him. He hated being called soft, said it stuck with him for years, but over time, he admitted it also forced him to grow. That's about as close to reconciliation as it got. Kobe didn't pull punches, verbally or otherwise. He wanted teammates who matched his fire. Dwight wasn't that. The face-off in 2014 was just the cherry on top of a relationship that never clicked, never healed, and definitely never softened. Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas. Their rivalry didn't need trash talk. It was built on playoff scars and personal pride. In 1991, after the Bulls swept the Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals, Detroit walked off the court with nearly 8 seconds left, refusing to shake hands. Jordan saw it as pure disrespect. He called it unsportsmanlike and held on to that moment like a grudge in concrete. Then came the Dream Team in 1992. Thomas was one of the league's top guards, but he wasn't invited. Publicly, Jordan denied pushing for the snub. Privately, A leaked recording suggests otherwise. Jordan reportedly told Rod Thorne he wouldn't play if Isaiah was on the roster. That clip changed everything. It turned whispers into receipts. The bad blood didn't fade. Jordan called Thomas an asshole in The Last Dance and dismissed his apology attempts as fake. Thomas, for his part, said they'd have shaken hands if they could do it over, but he still insists the Dream Team exclusion stings, and he's gone on record asking for a public apology. On international television, no less, Paul Pierce and LeBron James. Their beef didn't start on a playoff court. It started with spit, literally. In a 2003 preseason game, Pierce was ejected and fined $15,000 for spitting toward the Cavaliers bench. LeBron was sitting there as a rookie. Pierce later admitted it happened after he shouted something about why they were riding the bench. Kendrick Perkins backed it up, saying that moment lit the fuse. According to him, they still don't speak. Even now, the tension didn't stop there. Things got physical fast. That same night, a near fight broke out. Teammates had to carry Pierce off the floor before punches flew. It wasn't some regular season stare down. This was preseason, and it still nearly turned into a full-blown brawl. Years later, Pierce has kept the energy alive. He's gone on FS1 shows and questioned LeBron's entire legacy. In 2025, he said LeBron's move to Miami was all about chasing rings. He's been repeating the same thing for years. Ring culture, legacy questions, not enough to be the GOAT. Even as recently as March 2024, Pierce was still taking jabs, saying LeBron needed to take a step back with the Lakers. It started with spit. It kept going with swings that never landed, and it still hasn't ended. Not on the court, not on camera, and definitely not in Pierce's mind. Charles Oakley and Charles Barkley. This wasn't your usual on-court beef. It started with a slap during warm-ups in 1994. No whistle, no play, just Oakley walking up and smacking Barkley open-handed right in the middle of pre-game routines. Oakley later said in his book he slapped the shit out of him because Barkley wouldn't stop talking about his Knicks. That was all it took to go from playful trash talk to a real hallway feud. Barkley's response? Duck and toss a towel. That was it. No punches, no wild counterattack, just a towel and a quick retreat. The whole thing blew up, and though there wasn't a game-time brawl, the tension never cooled. Oakley didn't hide anything. He talked about it in his memoir and multiple interviews. He called Barkley loud, selfish, and constantly running his mouth. He even said if he saw him again, he'd have something else waiting for him. Barkley's taken a few shots back on TNT, mostly with jokes, but the jabs never stopped. The two have never patched things up. They've kept that grudge on a steady simmer for decades. Slaps, towels, and nonstop insults. This rivalry is less about basketball now and more about two guys who just genuinely can't stand each other. Zach Randolph and Kendrick Perkins. On November 14th, 2012, things blew up between them in the final minutes of a game between the Grizzlies and Thunder. It started under the basket. Randolph snapped and told Perkins, "I'll beat your ass." Referees didn't wait around. They handed out technicals and ejections fast, trying to shut it down before fists followed words. But it didn't stop on the court. Perkins didn't exactly head to the showers quietly. He walked off toward the hallway, looking back, signaling Randolph to follow. And Randolph did. Reporters heard slamming doors and shouting echo through the tunnel. Both team staff and even police had to get involved. According to Randolph, he went through some doors and ended up on Perkins' side, looking to finish what started earlier. The league fined Randolph $25,000 for the confrontation. This wasn't theatrical. It was personal. Perkins has always been a guy who talks, but Randolph wasn't trying to hear it. The tension carried real weight. This wasn't just tough talk during a timeout. They were both ready to throw down in the back hallway of an NBA arena. The rivalry never turned into a full-blown physical brawl, but it got about as close as possible without swinging. Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. They were the faces of Lob City from 2011 to 2017. But once Paul got traded to Houston, whatever relationship they had quietly dissolved. Paul said he kept in touch with some Clippers, but Griffin, not really. That silence turned into something louder during Paul's first trip back to LA in a Rockets jersey. On January 15th, 2018, things got ugly. The Clippers won the game, but the real fireworks were after the buzzer. Paul, along with Harden, Ariza, and Green, took the back tunnel that connects the visitors' locker room to the Clippers area, something only insiders knew about. Reports say the group was looking for Griffin and Austin Rivers. Staff and security stopped them before things went further, but it was serious enough that police were called to calm it down. Griffin later addressed it, saying the Clippers were where they were supposed to be, doing the right thing. The incident didn't turn physical, but it left zero doubt. Whatever friendship existed was done. The tension was real, personal, and never resolved. No apologies, no public truce, just a cold distance that's lasted longer than their playoff runs ever did. That tunnel stunt wasn't just a stunt, it was a message. Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan, This rivalry was never about screaming matches or highlight dunks. It was about psychological warfare. Garnett made it his job to talk, and talk loud. He trash talk all game long, especially against Duncan. The rumor mill spun a brutal story about Garnett taunting Duncan on Mother's Day in 1999, allegedly referencing Duncan's late mother. Then there's the claim Duncan said, "I'll kill him," in response. Garnett thrived on trying to mess with Duncan's head. He said so himself. Trash talking was part of his arsenal. Duncan, though, didn't take the bait. He never reacted. Not once. He just played, quietly dismantling opponents, while Garnett tried to provoke a response that never came. That contrast, Garnett loud and confrontational, Duncan silent and lethal, defined their battles for years. So the real beef wasn't about insults or fights. It was mental. One guy shouted, the other didn't flinch. And that silence drove Garnett even crazier than any comeback ever could. Kareem and Kent Benson. This rivalry didn't build. It detonated. In the season opener of 1977, rookie Kent Benson came out swinging. Literally, just 2 minutes into his first NBA game, Benson elbowed Kareem in the stomach or chest. Kareem, not exactly known for letting things slide, retaliated immediately. He punched Benson straight in the face, breaking Benson's jaw and his own hand in the process. That one punch shook the league. Kareem had to sit for nearly 2 months, missing about 20 games with a fractured hand. The NBA handed him a $5,000 fine, which was a record at the time, but there was no suspension. Benson, he missed just one game with that broken jaw and was back on the court 4 days later. There were no press tours or heartfelt apology. Kareem never expressed regret. He considered it justified. Benson threw the first cheap shot, and Kareem answered in kind, painfully and decisively. No handshake, no post-game misunderstanding, just an unfiltered moment of retaliation that set the tone for both their seasons. Rajon Rondo and Ray Allen. This one started with a departure and turned into a decade-long freeze-out. When Allen left Boston in 2012 to join the Miami Heat, it hit differently. Rondo later said he wasn't personally mad, but compared it to one of our troops joins the ops. That's not exactly neutral. He felt the move fractured the team, especially since some fans blamed him for pushing Allen away, something he firmly denied. Fast forward to 2017. Rondo organized a reunion for the 2008 Celtics title team. Allen didn't get an invite. Rondo made it clear everyone else was welcome, but Allen was the one guy who was out. He checked with former teammates, and they agreed. Danny Ainge called the snub silly. Rondo and the crew didn't budge. The bad blood didn't stop there. Even in 2025, the tension hasn't thawed. Doc Rivers admitted they still can't get the whole group together. Garnett and Pierce have aired their frustration publicly. Rondo, he's kept it cool, stayed quiet during Allen discussions on live forums, never hinting at reconciliation. Not even Allen's Hall of Fame moment brought them together. A decade plus of silence and shutouts, all because one player changed teams and the rest couldn't let it go. No truce, no reunion, just a long, cold grudge that still lingers. Kenyon Martin and Tim Thomas. In April 2004, during a heated Nets-Knicks playoff series, Thomas fired the first shot, calling Martin a Fugazi tough guy. That wasn't just a casual insult. Fugazi is mob slang for fake. And Thomas dropped it publicly. He didn't stop there either. He challenged Martin to a charity boxing match, even suggesting they could settle things in the ring for a good cause. Martin's response? Pure scorched earth. Before Game 3, he showed up to practice with a newspaper clipping, reading Whiny Tim taped to his jersey. Then he added, "Lock me and him in a room together and see who comes out." Spoiler, Martin was confident it wouldn't be Thomas. The back and forth didn't end with the final buzzer. Thomas kept needling him in the media, defending his insult and continuing to poke at Martin's reputation. Martin shrugged it all off, but later said, flat out, he would have whooped him. No coded language, just straight up heat. They never fought, but the animosity stuck. The feud became a time capsule of pride, ego, and two guys who clearly didn't want to be in the same room, unless there was a locked door and no referees. Nothing was ever patched up. It was raw then, and it's still sharp now. Derek Coleman and Karl Malone. This wasn't your standard NBA feud. It spanned years, teams, and boiled over in more than one way. Coleman famously called Malone an Uncle Tom in 1995. That wasn't some locker room whisper. It made headlines. Malone, for his part, didn't fire back in kind. He said he didn't understand it, laughed it off, and made it clear the insult didn't shake him. Despite all that noise, there's no verified record of Coleman threatening to knock Malone out off the court. That quote floats around in fan circles, but there's no credible source to back it up. And Malone, he never publicly called Coleman a punk or anything else that hostile, at least not on record. Most of his responses were professional, distant, and borderline amused. Still, the beef didn't stay verbal. In January 2002, while playing for the Sixers, Coleman punched Malone during a game. He got suspended 1 game and fined $7,500. It was the most physical and public flashpoint in a feud that had been brewing for nearly a decade. Jaylen Rose and Kobe Bryant. The moment came in Game 2 of the 2000 NBA Finals. Kobe went up for a jumper, and Rose slid his foot underneath him. Classic undercut move. Kobe landed on it, rolled his ankle, and limped off. It wasn't a fluke. Years later, Rose admitted on air that he did it on purpose. Said he didn't want to knock Kobe out for the series, just shake him up a little. "I think I did it on purpose," he said. Subtle, not subtle. The injury forced Kobe to miss Game 3. He came back, played the rest of the series in pain, and still helped the Lakers win the title. But the damage wasn't just physical. Kobe never forgot. He didn't forgive either. People close to him said he held a long grudge over that moment. Rose said he didn't want to injure him, just hurt him, which is somehow supposed to be better. Kobe kept it filed away, like he did with every slight. And Rose? He laughed about it years later, but the tension never totally left. That ankle sprain, it left a scar that never really healed. Draymond Green and Jusuf Nurkic. On December 12, 2023, during a Suns-Warriors game, Green spun around and swung his arm right into Nurkic's face. It wasn't subtle. The refs reviewed it, upgraded it to a flagrant 2, and tossed him. Just another day in the Draymond Green highlight reel of impulsive decisions. But this one crossed a new line. The NBA didn't just suspend him for a game or two, they hit him with an indefinite suspension. The league cited repeated history of unsportsmanlike acts, which is a nice way of saying, "We're tired of this." Green was ordered to undergo counseling before he could come back, and every missed game cost him a chunk of his paycheck. Nurkic didn't hold back afterward. He said, "That brother needs help," and repeated it in interviews like a mantra. He even added, "Glad he didn't try to choke me." A nod to Green's greatest hits catalog. There was no apology tour, no public reconciling, just the usual Draymond drama, followed by silence and suspension. Nurkic stayed standing. Green sat down, indefinitely, and the NBA made it clear. Repeat offenders eventually run out of rope, even if they wear championship rings. Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning. Things got wild in Game 4 of the 1998 playoffs. Just 1.4 seconds left on the clock, and the Knicks were about to seal a win when Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning decided it was time to throw hands. Johnson swung first, Mourning fired back, and the whole thing spiraled from there. It wasn't just a little push and shove either. Players sprinted from the benches like it was a track meet. The refs lost control, and Jeff Van Gundy somehow ended up clinging to Mourning's leg like a determined toddler. This wasn't just a random blow-up. These two had a history, and not the fun kind. Back when they were teammates in Charlotte, there was tension over everything. Roles, contracts, egos. It brewed for years until it finally exploded on national television. And no, they never made up. The league came down hard. Mourning got hit with a 2-game suspension and a $20,000 fine. Johnson also sat for 2 games and had to cough up $10,000. Chris Mills even caught a 1-game suspension just for running off the bench. That fight wasn't just about 1 game. It was years of unresolved beef boiling over in front of everybody. Latrell Sprewell and Jerome Kersey. Back in 1995, things took a hard left at a Golden State practice. Sprewell got into it with Kersey and stormed out, but he wasn't done. He came back holding a 2x4 and started making threats, even saying he'd return with a gun if things didn't calm down. Kersey had to be hidden away in the locker room for 3 hours until things simmered. That wasn't just drama, that was a full-on meltdown. The situation was so volatile that players and staff had to physically restrain Sprewell. And no, it didn't stop on the court. Reports say it kept going behind closed doors where assistant coaches stepped in to stop things from getting worse. You know it's bad when the practice turns into a hostage-level operation just to keep the team from imploding. This wasn't a one-time outburst either. When Sprewell choked Coach Carlesimo in 1997, everyone remembered what happened with Kersey. That earlier incident stuck to him like glue. Even in 2025, retrospectives still drag that story out whenever Sprewell's name comes up. Sports Illustrated didn't sugarcoat it. They said his legacy's in a chokehold, and that Kersey fight, still getting mentioned. Not many practice fights echo for decades, but this one made sure nobody forgot it. Nate Robinson and Iggy. This one never needed a playoff stage or flying punches. Nate took it straight to the blogosphere. He didn't just throw shade, he dragged Iggy with both hands, calling him a phony and a fake tough guy. He claimed Iggy acted like a different person depending on who was watching. One way for cameras and coaches, another way behind closed doors. And Nate wasn't subtle. He flat out said he would have fought Iggy in the tunnel if team security hadn't been around. This wasn't a friendly competition kind of feud. It got real personal. The jabs flew through interviews, blog posts, and social media. Nate accused Iggy of going full Hollywood and not keeping it real with teammates. He painted Iggy as a guy who smiled for the cameras but disrespected the locker room. Iggy didn't go as loud, but reports say he clapped back in private. No on-camera meltdowns, no courtside showdowns, just a quiet but nasty back and forth that didn't go away when the season ended. J.R. Smith and Brandon Jennings. This one didn't start with elbows or rebounds. It started on Twitter in November of 2013. Jennings sent out a tweet questioning why Chris Smith, J.R.'s brother, was on the Knicks roster. He name-dropped players like Pooh Jeter and Bobby Brown, asking why they weren't getting that spot instead. Jennings tried to walk it back, saying it wasn't serious, but the tweet was already out there, and J.R. definitely saw it. J.R. fired back almost instantly. He called Jennings out for deleting tweets and added a pair of hashtags that made his mood crystal clear. Then he took it up a few notches, posting something about calling his number street homies and putting Detroit on smashing. Yeah, the league didn't love that. The NBA dropped a $25,000 fine on him for hostile and inappropriate language. They launched an investigation and let everyone know this wasn't the kind of thing they just ignore. Smith later tried to explain it all away. He said it wasn't a threat and claimed he sees Jennings in Los Angeles all the time. According to him, it was just about sticking up for his little brother. But no matter what the explanation was, that fine stuck, and so did the headline. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.